Who's actually going to get the most out of a PON ONU with a 2.5 GbE port, and who can safely walk away? If you're trying to decide whether the Ubiquiti GPON Optical Network Unit is worth the price tag for a typical household, you're probably already feeling that hesitation. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this video, I'll walk through the real-world scenarios where that extra bandwidth matters, point out the hidden trade-offs that don't show up on the spec sheet, and help you decide if you should add this box to your network or keep looking. First, let's set the scene for a typical fiber-to-the home (FTTH) install. Your ISP drops a single-mode fiber cable into the building, then you need an optical network unit, ONU, to translate that light into Ethernet. Most entry-level ONUs give you a single 1 GbE port, which is fine for a couple of laptops and a Wi-Fi router. The Ubiquiti model, however, pushes the downstream rate up to 2.5 gigabits per second and the upstream to 1.2 gigabits per second, and it can run the fiber link over distances up to 20 kilometers. That sounds impressive, but the real question is whether you have devices that can actually use those speeds. If you run a small office or a home lab with 2.5 GbE capable network cards, a NAS that supports 2.5 GbE, or a high-end gaming PC that you want to stream 8K video to, then the extra port is a genuine productivity boost. I've seen a freelance video editor hook a 2.5 GbE-enabled workstation directly to the ONU and shave minutes off large file transfers that would otherwise take an hour on a 1 GbE link. In that context, the ONU becomes a future-proof gateway that eliminates the need to upgrade again for at least a few years. The same applies if you're a gamer who wants to run a dedicated LAN server with low latency and the bandwidth to handle multiple simultaneous 4K streams. On the flip side, the average family with a handful of smartphones, a smart TV, and a standard Wi-Fi router will never see more than a few hundred megabits per second of actual traffic. Most consumer-grade devices still sit at 1 GbE, and Wi-Fi 6 routers, even in the best conditions, rarely push past 1 gigabit per second on the wireless side. If you're only looking to replace an old IS-provided box because you want a cleaner cable closet, you'll probably be paying a premium for a speed you can't exploit. In that case, a simpler 1 GbE ONU or even the ISP-supplied equipment might give you the same day-to-day experience for a fraction of the cost. One practical strength that often goes overlooked is the integration with Ubiquiti's UniFi controller. The ONU shows up as a UniFi device, meaning you can push firmware updates, monitor traffic statistics, and apply VLAN tagging from the same dashboard you already use for your switches and access points. For anyone already entrenched in the UniFi ecosystem, that centralized visibility can simplify troubleshooting dramatically. Imagine a scenario where a remote worker reports intermittent upload failures. You can pull the real-time upstream utilization graph from the controller and instantly see whether the 1.2 gigabits per second upstream pipe is being saturated or if there's a configuration mismatch on the LAN side. That integration also brings a hidden cost, a learning curve. The UniFi interface assumes a certain level of networking knowledge, especially when you start fiddling with VLANs or QoS policies. A tech-savvy homeowner can manage it, but a non-technical user may find the extra menus intimidating and end up leaving the device on default settings that don't fully leverage its capabilities. In practice, I've seen people install the unit, connect a router, and never go back to tweak anything, which means they pay for a feature set they never use. Another practical point is the physical installation. The ONU requires a dedicated power outlet and a fiber termination that must be done by a qualified technician. That's not a surprise for any GPON device, but the fact that this model can handle fiber runs up to 20 kilometers means it's often chosen for rural deployments where the fiber drop is longer than typical urban installs. If you live in a suburb with a short drop, you're not really getting any advantage from that distance rating. It's simply a spec that doesn't affect your everyday experience. However, for a remote cabin or a small business that's pulling fiber from a municipal pole 15 kilometers away, that distance capability is a decisive factor. Let's talk about port count. The unit offers a single 2.5 GbE Ethernet port, no extra gigabit ports, no built-in Wi-Fi, and no additional LAN ports for connecting multiple wired devices. That means you'll almost always need a downstream switch or router to spread connectivity to the rest of your devices. If you were hoping